can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. So today's video, we're gonna be talking about Bloodline, Daughter of Blade #4 by Danny Lore and Karen S. Darbo. There was something that I meant to talk about in the previous video for Bloodline, Daughter of Blade #3 that I probably either left out or cut for time or just didn't feel like I had all the answers. I don't really remember because honestly, I've slept since then, but there was a particular aspect of the previous issue that was kind of glossed over by myself. It was something that was also kind of glossed over by the creative team, but that was on purpose. They were purposefully trying not to bury the lead on this particular plot element, but the new character that was introduced in Bloodline, Daughter of Blade #1, Whitney Nieves, she is the daughter of Deacon Frost, long-time Blade villain Deacon Frost, who is largely responsible for why Blade is a Daywalker. Now, she's not his daughter necessarily in a biological sense, but it is made very explicitly clear that Deacon Frost has adopted Whitney Nieves. Now, the tricky part here is, why would a villainous vampire like Deacon Frost want to adopt a vampire hunter? And more importantly, why would he want to train a vampire hunter? A vampire hunter's entire job is to kill vampires, and that's exactly what Deacon Frost is. That would be like a gazelle taking in a lion and raising it so it can grow up to kill it. It wouldn't be a wise business move. But there's actually a reason why Deacon Frost is doing this, and while it's not stated in this issue, I believe I know the answer behind this, and I would not be shocked if this were the case when we get to the final issue of Bloodline, Daughter of Blade #5. The reason why I say all this is because Deacon Frost, well, for one, this is not the original Deacon Frost. It is a clone. There have been various ways that Deacon Frost has been cloned over the years, hence why I brought up in the previous video that Deacon Frost has died at least 2 or 3 times in the Marvel Comics universe. We don't really know how this version was cloned. We don't really go into that here, but the main idea here is that the reason Deacon Frost is raising these vampire hunters, as well as raising his own family of vampires, it's all really simple. He's going to use these vampire hunters, characters like Whitney Nieves, to kill other rival vampires. We can't forget that right now, vampire society has gone mainstream as of late. Over the course of Jason Aaron's Avengers, the vampires have created their own nation. Dracula has taken over Chernobyl, a place that is, for all intents and purposes, unlivable for normal people. He's taken that place and made it the home, the seat of vampire power in the Marvel Comics universe, and this is largely because vampires are immune to the radiation levels of Chernobyl. So yeah, they would be some of the only people who could live there other than like a Hulk or Jack of Hearts. The point is that because of this, Deacon is raising these vampires to take out his rivals outside of the vampire nation. Now, we do know that there are people that have been sending in operatives and assassins to take down certain people of political power within the vampire nation, but we also know that Dracula has been doing this as well, and to his own people no less, and that Blade has been acting as the sheriff of this nation. But outside of the vampire nation of Chernobyl, there's still other vampire cults and sects all over the place. We've seen this in Jed McKay's Moon Knight series. In Moon Knight, we saw what was called the Structure. It was basically a pyramid scheme of vampires, and there were other vampires who were outside of the vampire nation of Chernobyl. Deacon Frost doesn't have the type of firepower at his disposal to take on the vampire nation of Chernobyl, at least not yet, but he can take the fight to rival vampire gangs and organizations like the Structure. If he were to have vampire hunters at his disposal, he could get rid of all his enemies and get him closer to being at the head of the table. Now you're asking yourself, well, he's raising these vampire hunters, and it's also clearly stated that he also has as a part of his family other vampires. Well, that of course is, yes, his family. He is raising up his own little brood of vampires, and the reason why Deacon Frost is going after Blade and his family in this, it's not so much that he's trying to get revenge against Saffron Calder for all the stuff that happened in Tomb of Dracula, or you're back in the 70s or whatever. It's not for that. He's not even really trying to get revenge on Blade. He's trying to use Blade's blood as a method to channel the power of a Daywalker into his vampire brood. That said, this isn't the first time this has ever been attempted. Multiple characters across Bled's publication history have tried to take his power, to take the power of the Daywalker, everything that makes Bled who he is, and channel it into other vampires, and it's never worked. It's never worked because there's a lot more to Bled's genetics. Bled is a quirk of nature and the supernatural. It's not as simple as someone drinking Bled's blood or using magic to transfer what is a part of him to someone else. It doesn't work that way. Now, we have seen Dracula on the other side of things in some of the earlier portions of Benjamin Percy's Wolverine series. Dracula had figured out that taking Wolverine's blood, due to the nature of his healing factor, allowed vampires to become Daywalkers if they ingested Wolverine's blood. However, it's not the same for Bled. That's just not how it works. Now, to be fair, Wolverine is a mutant and his healing factor is naturally occurring within his body. So why would the vampires be able to take Wolverine's blood and become Daywalkers, but not Bled's? And I think that actually has a little bit more to do with the mystical nature of how Bled was created. He isn't a normal vampire, therefore he's not subject to the same normal rules of things. We cannot forget that originally Bled's only power was not being a Daywalker. It was just that he was immune to the effects of vampirism, and he was immune to the effects of a vampire bite. He couldn't be turned. That was what made Bled special back in the old days of the Tomb of Dracula series, back in the early 70s. Bled didn't become a Daywalker in the Marvel Comics universe as he was in the movies until Peter Parker Spider-Man #7 in 1999. That was when Morbius had bitten Bled, and Morbius's bite had unlocked something special within Bled that turned him into more of the Daywalker that he is known as today, and what a lot of casual Bled fans know him of from the movies. That said, Bled still has that same immunity. He's immune to the effects of vampirism, and he's immune to the effects of a vampire bite. Thus, any negative effects that would come from a vampire bite for Bled would also technically probably go the opposite direction, that any benefits a vampire would likely get from Bled wouldn't actually transfer. So it's one of those things, it's like a two-way protection deal going on here, at least by my estimation. Now, the way that they're doing this is not necessarily through the effects of a vampire bite. Deacon Frost is using what is roughly blood magic to try and make this work, and it's not gonna happen. The same thing in Bled's blood that protects him from the effects of vampirism is probably gonna be the same thing that keeps vampires from accessing any part of his powers. That's the only thing that makes sense. Dhampirs are ridiculously rare. Bled is an absolute anomaly just based on the nature of how Bled was created. The fact that his mother had to be bitten by a vampire while she was practically in the process of giving birth to Bled, that should tell you just how wild the timing has to be for a Dhampir to be created. Either the exact same circumstances that led to the creation of Bled have to be replicated, and even then, that is still a very rare occurrence. The only guaranteed way to make more Daywalkers is not through magic, it's not through blood rituals, and it's something that vampires absolutely cannot do themselves. Only way for another Daywalker to be born is the old-fashioned way.
I've been really trying, baby.
I've been really enjoying the series. I'm sad that it's going to be ending here pretty soon, because I believe it was only slated for 5 issues. I mean, technically, if it's sold well, Marvel will always have the option to push it towards an ongoing series, but they haven't made any announcements in that regard. And Bled has his own series coming up here very shortly, in the next couple of months or less. So I'm not really expecting anything major to change on that front, but I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, do the YouTube thing, like, share, comment, subscribe, and make sure to tap that notification bell so that way you don't miss out on any videos that I put out. And also, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. You could be anywhere on the internet right now, and yet here you are, and I appreciate that. So thank you so much, and until next time, let me know what you thought of Bloodline, Daughter of Bled #4. Keep it plus ultra. Sound off in the comments.